All right, if you are the principal of the school, what do you do here? Security guards report that they found a gun in a student's car parked on a city street next to campus. The principal expelled the student. The people in this town are upset with the principal. The student is Gary Tedesco. He'd gone dunk hunting in Northern California before going to Willows High School, and he left his gun in his truck. The people in Willows are outraged. They like to hunt. They say there's nothing wrong with carrying your gun. The school board will hear an appeal on Tuesday. Remember, the truck was parked across the street. Ron, is the school right or wrong here?
Well, I mean, this is a troubled kid. He used the N-word watching To Kill a Mockingbird. He called an assistant principal an insulting, name because he was Mexican. I mean, this is a kid with 20 various disciplinary procedures. He was clearly being provocative. They've made a rational decision that there shouldn't be any guns anywhere near a school. I mean, after Columbine and all that's happened at Virginia Tech and everywhere else, what does it take for people to come to a realization that there's a difference between going hunting and then leaving your gun in the car with ammunition? It was sniffed out by dogs working the perimeter of this school. The officials were that concerned about what was going on in their community and the free use and belief in guns. And it's noteworthy that he's being defended by an NRA lawyer who just happens to have been the partner of our city attorney Chutanich, who wasn't personally involved in NRA cases, but it's a Long Beach lawyer who's defending this kid, who's lived off of the NRA and these gun issues. This isn't a gun issue. This is a safety issue for kids in schools, and it's absolutely ridiculous to suggest that the school officials did anything except provide for the safety of the children in that school.
Debra, we got about 40 seconds. Do you agree with Ron on this one?
Ron, I think you're going to be very surprised at me that I'm going to disagree with you, and here's why. It's an individual situation, and although there are school rules and regulations, the one thing that has to be looked at individually is the fact that when he put the gun in the car, he put it in the back seat, number one. Number two, he made sure that he was responsible enough to take out the ammunition and put it in the glove box. So yes, although he broke school rules, we have to look at this individually and say he was at least responsible in that regard, knowing that that neighborhood, that particular community in Northern California are people who are gun nuts, people who are a part of the NRA, and people who do this on a regular basis. And although he is troubled and we may look at his past, we still have to look at the individual situation was he did what he thought was best in the safety of that piece of equipment.
Debra, but looking at the individual situation, looking at any situation, you don't bring a gun to school. I don't care where you live.
He didn't bring it to school.
He parked it in his car across the street and then he
left
went
it in
into
his
school.
trunk. So if we are going to be clear about this, let's be clear. If we're going to be very clear, let's look at semantics at the same time. He did not bring it to school. He left it in his truck. It was not on school property.
That's right, but he was
and
going
he took the ammunition out. He was responsible enough to take the ammunition out.
I understand
yes, we don't like him as an individual. We don't like his character, but did he show character in what he did with the gun and the ammunition? And I'd have to say yes.
Debra, if anybody in Southern California parked their car across the street from the high school they attend, and dogs were sniffing around and happened to find a gun and ammo, I got to tell you, whether the car is parked in the parking lot or directly across the street, and whether the ammo is in the glove box or in the gun, that's a problem. That's a problem.
Reality check, though. Reality check. It didn't happen in Southern California.
This kid was 16 years old, Deborah. He wasn't a responsible person, and I don't believe his story for a minute that he went hunting that morning. He probably carries the gun with him all the time.
Maybe or maybe not, but that's still a judgment call, Ron. That's still a judgment call, and if we have to go by the facts, and I'm going by the facts, and I would love to agree with you, but if I'm going by the facts, he was at least responsible enough to put it in the back of his seat, and he took out all the ammunition and stored it responsibly.
All right, let's agree to disagree here because we got one more and we're running short on time. All right, I want to show you something here. Does it bother you? Air New Zealand put together an online documentary promoting a competition for a free rugby tournament. This is a spoof. It shows women, cougars, pursuing their young prey. Watch the few seconds of this.
itself on sparse vegetation during the day, then hunting large slabs of meat at night. The young male now has little chance of escaping the cougar's powerful claws. But this cougar has not tasted meat for days and is in no mood to be so easily discouraged. And eventually the young male is dragged off to the cougar's inner city apartment.
Dragged off to her inner city apartment. Are you bothered by this? Because the folks running New Zealand's rape prevention education group are. Also, men who have been raped in New Zealand are outraged. A harmless spoof or a reason to be upset, Deborah?
I think it's hilarious. I think it's wonderful. I think, unfortunately, not only this country, but all countries are getting so politically correct that they lose the thought of humor. If a man who has been raped and violated, and that's no laughing matter, compares himself to this, then he needs to go back to therapy and try to figure out why he's making that comparison when this truly is about the idea and the concept of a cougar, which is an older woman who stalks younger men. And it is a parody. So if you take it too seriously and it's too much of a psychological upsetment to you, then you need to go back to your therapist and figure out why, because it doesn't relate to you whatsoever. It is not about rape. It does not lead to anything that has to do with rape. People want to take the responsibility that they have and place it on someone else and lose their own sense of identity and responsibility towards their own growth and development as adults. Grow up, New Zealand.
All right, Ron, 30 seconds, Ron, go ahead.
First of all, it's a terrible ad for Air New Zealand. And the second point is there, it's not a Puritan country. I lived in Australia for 5 years. They were a convict culture, totally different society than ours, sexually and in sexual mores. Having said that, I mean, it's about as sexually exploitive a thing as you could do to attract young men, most of whom really do down under hang out in the bar together and really don't want to hang out with the girls except when they want them for what they want them for. So down under, I think it's very funny. It really doesn't play here very well.
All right. Ron, Deborah, thanks a lot. Stay dry. We'll talk to you next week.